Gauteng Department of Basic Education spokesperson Steve Mabona yesterday said there are over 11,000 pupils who are yet to be placed for the 2026 academic year. And he admitted that residential developers are moving ahead of the department. In response, the department is working with the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure and Development to try and fast-track construction and address some of the classroom overcrowding in the province. Let's now get an update on the progress made thus far. Joining me in the studio is Gauteng's Infrastructure and Development MEC. That's Jacob Mamabolo. Mr. Mamabolo, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it, MEC. I don't know if you got to see at all the interview we did with Steve Mabona. My colleague Iman actually did that and really just said, look, it primarily is not up to them to build schools. It's really on your shoulders as the Infrastructure and Development Department in the province. How would you exactly respond to that? Is that the case? Is it now up to you, or how does the process work? Would they have to tell you how many schools need to be built, etc.?
So firstly, let me greet you and greet all the viewers, and thank you for inviting us. I think the very first thing to say is we fully understand and appreciate the point that the Department of Basic Education is making, because their core business is to deliver education. Yep. We are an infrastructure department, and it's really indeed our responsibility as the Department of Infrastructure Development to support them with infrastructure delivery. But we work together. They are our client. We are the implementing agent, so it means they provide the budget, the requirements, what they need, and then we deliver on that. So the relationship is really that we work together, but I think the point they are making is well understood. Gauteng has got a fast-growing population. At the beginning of the year, there will be huge pressure. And we are the economic hub of the country. And everybody says infrastructure is the key driver of economic development. Yeah. That means infrastructure has to perform here in our province, provincial government, municipalities. So we really share the point that they're making.
So why hasn't it performed as yet? I mean, why is it lagging behind so much? Because if it wasn't, we probably would have enough schools for placements, wouldn't we?
Well, as I've already considered that, indeed there is a challenge. I think the big problem is just the delivery process of infrastructure. I can assure you and the viewers that, globally and in the country, even here in the province, even in municipalities, infrastructure does, pose a very complex difficulty and challenge. But I'm very much pleased to say we do have a plan as a province. And I'm quite confident that our plan will change the way we deliver infrastructure, in the sense that we should be able to improve and increase the total number of infrastructure-like schools that we can deliver within a period of time. Just on the 1st of August this year, we unveiled our turnaround plan. Yes. I've given you a copy there. Yeah. The turnaround plan is not yet in full swing in the manner that we wanted. It's just 6 months old. But what we are beginning to see is that at the beginning of the year, when the schools reopen, we will be able to provide the department with some schools, obviously not enough, and during the period, the month following that, we'll be able to increase and ramp up our performance. Sure. And I'm also pleased to say that we have got an entity in the department that we call Gauteng Infrastructure Financing Agency, which is GIFA. So GIFA has also come on board. They have raised 1.5 billion outside the equitable share and the grants, the money that they've made available to build about 18 schools. And they are working with the Department of Basic Education. So over and above our plan, using the grants, the money that the department gave to us, we have also looked at alternative sources of funding. Now the challenge, and that's what we are trying to address there, is to make sure that we deal with the matters quicker and faster and deliver state-of-the-art, high-quality infrastructure. Yeah. But also make sure that, because we don't have all the money but make sure that we do so within budget.
Okay.
So that's our plan.
So how many schools are we looking at here? You said GIFA has got that 1.5 billion that they've brought forward, 18 schools to be built. Do we know the time period for that school, for those schools, how long or when we can have them ready? And how many schools in total is the commitment from this plan, this new turnaround plan, set to bring about? Do you know the answer to that one?
So one of the things that help us a lot, it's in the turnaround, is we have put a technological digital platform, which we call the Infrastructure Delivery Platform, which has just won an award 2 weeks back from national government in the Batupili Awards. So that gives us data of what is the actual portfolio we're managing, but each one of these projects has got its own unique circumstances and challenges. So currently, for education, we're running about 121 projects. These projects are at different stages of development. It's not as if all of them are about to be completed. Some of them are still at a very early stage of planning. Some are at, design, some are at construction.
Is that safe to say that it's basic education, however?
Basic education projects, yes. And the number varies and changes from time to time because there's planning, there's adjustment, there's movement of money. But so what we have considered and why we came with that plan is that this total number of projects, and of course they're at different places, but when they reach construction, that is where we have got even much more complex challenges of delivery. So, for example, I'm pleased to say, whilst it has been very difficult for the department, just in preparation of the reopening of the schools, we just completed one of the schools that has been quite difficult to deliver, which is called Rasteval. It has been a big problem. We just got an occupation certificate last week from the municipality which says, when you reopen, this school will be ready. Yeah. It's a beautiful school. So we've got another one that we're working on in the city of Ekurhuleni, W. Du Plessis. That school is also complete. We're working with the city of Ekurhuleni to issue an occupation certificate. Nansfield, which we hope by early February should be ready. There's also in the Val a state-of-the-art early childhood development center called Bantu Bonke. We also hope to complete it around February, March. So there's a pipeline of projects. And what we're trying to do with that turnaround is we don't just want to drop 1 or 2 schools and then it's quiet.
100%.
Yeah. So, and I'm not including the projects that GIFA is running with the Department of Education, the 80, some of them are at still like 8.
So the 121 doesn't include that 80?
No, it doesn't include that. So these are the ones that we are running through mainstream budgeting, the traditional way of financing. But the 18 schools that GIFA and basic education are running, those came through alternative sources of funding. So we do have a pipeline of projects. And what I can say to you is just in 2026, we want to make sure that we have a consistent, predictable, but efficient and effective delivery process.
Would that mean that you're always running behind, though? Because you're still trying to catch up. Because if population growth is going to be what we're using for all of this, whether it be by way of birth or people moving to Gauteng, then it's ultimately going to be very important to match up that data with the amount of schools that you're putting in place. Are you building enough schools for the population growth? I mean, in the middle part of this year, we had already seen Matome Chilwane, the MEC, actually speaking about Gauteng needing 200 schools. And just on this pipeline alone, we're still going to be behind no matter how many we finish with regards to this.
So the reason why we needed to improve our delivery process and make it efficient and effective, it is precisely out of recognition and appreciation that the marginal rate of performance, that is the rate at which we are delivering schools, compared to the demand and the population, are not at the appropriate level. So that point we have considered. So you are absolutely right when we say we do have shortfalls, we are falling behind. The process, the system of delivery is not yet where we want it to be. So that's absolutely true. And that's why we have put an ecosystem of delivery, where we're trying to make sure that, at least in this province, we can be able to ramp up delivery of infrastructure.
So this will ultimately ramp it up, you believe?
I can tell you that the multiple solutions that we have put there will make sure that we perform far much better than the way we've been doing.
Are you able to put numbers to it? in terms of how many schools we can complete by a set time period, whether it's 205 years, 215 years, etc., whatever the numbers
So
may be.
the plan is just 6 months in place. So the test that we have done is by end of the financial year, which is the 31st of March next year,
yes,
we're working on at least about 9 before the end of the financial year.
Okay.
And then from there, we have got to start improving on a quarterly basis, on a semester and the full year. So we have given ourselves that let us test the turnaround with a quick win of about 9, but we're not only doing schools, we're also doing other social infrastructure. So to that extent, I can assure you that moving into the new financial year, which will be 2026-2027 financial year, that delivery process should be stable, reliable, consistent, and should give us better results.
Is there sufficient funding going into basic education, for example? And I concede a lot that there's many other priorities, of course, within your department too, and you probably have to look after those. But is there sufficient funding and financing going into basic education primarily in order to alleviate the stress that is currently on this system?
The reality of the matter is that funding, we don't have all the money that we need. Hence, when I started, I indicated that we do have the equitable share, we do have grants that we get, but we have an entity, the Gauteng Infrastructure Financing Agency, GIFA. It is playing precisely in the space of blended finance. Make sure that the little we can put on the table, we're able to attract, but it's also able to engage province and national treasury and look at other alternative sources. So the money is not enough, and that is why the traditional way of funding infrastructure, not only schools, is not adequate. So given our pressure points, we don't have the money. And then there's another issue that we need to look at. We need a balanced approach to delivery of infrastructure. What do I mean by that is, whilst we roll out new infrastructure, for which we don't have enough money, we've got a difficulty that we must maintain existing infrastructure. Because if we don't do that, we'll deliver new state of the art, but we'll have infrastructure deteriorating.
How are you going to do that?
So,
how are you going to... I mean, if you're saying that you're going to maintain it, how exactly do that? When the funding is less, the acquisition of land is obviously a big issue in some of the issues. The construction costs are obviously continuously increasing, and the need for schools even rises every so often. So how do you maintain that? Is that what this is about?
That's what the turnaround is about, balancing. So in the turnaround, in our ecosystem, as you'll see there, we have got what we call the multidisciplinary infrastructure A-team that we have just mobilized. This is our internal engineering professionals, highly skilled, experienced, qualified, and our artisans, our technicians. We have integrated them. So they do not only just project oversight, but they also do condition assessment, which is part of good practice in facility management, so that we can say to, for example, education, we have assessed this school, this is what it requires, these are the immediate things that need to be done. So what I'm saying is that strategy will deliver new infrastructure, but we are going to be looking at the condition assessment of existing facilities so that they don't deteriorate beyond use and they can actually just become obsolete and not serve the purpose, but put lives of learners, of educators at risk and the users of the infrastructure. So we have there in the ecosystem teams that starting next year, they will not only be doing delivery of new infrastructure, we're looking quite extensively at maintenance. With regard to budget, that is why I'm talking about balanced delivery of infrastructure. Balanced means exactly that. We need to allocate money for delivering new schools, new infrastructure, but at the same time, we can't postpone, neglect, and close our eyes to deterioration of infrastructure. Because once backlog maintenance accumulate, they become costly, riskier, And we need infrastructure that is also resilient, for example, to extreme weather conditions and many other challenges. So if we don't balance the two, we will continue with state of the art, but the infrastructure will get into
I've certainly run out of time though, but like inefficiencies and misallocations, how much of that still is in the system? Just for 30 seconds, if you could.
You know, with the IDEP, the technology that we have put in place, the award it has received, I can tell you those inefficiencies will be addressed because...
So there are some, though? There are some inefficiencies and misallocations.
That's why we had to put that in place. Okay. That's why we had to leverage smart technology precisely to deal with inefficiencies and the weaknesses and challenges of the system.
Yeah. Mr. Mamabolo, really appreciate the candor, appreciate the conversation, because I think it was needed to understand exactly where anything may lie, where we could get a better situation. It is the infrastructure turnaround plan that you said you've put forward that lies in this document. Thank you so much for bringing it. I think an important read, I think, for all of us as well. 200 more schools is what the Education MEC, Matomi Chilwane, has said is needed. Gauteng Infrastructure Development MEC Jacob Mamabolo saying that they're trying to push as much as possible, needing financing, needing funding, and trying to deliver